It's just a 3-day work training, I'll be back before you know it. Those were her exact words. Her lips brushed my cheek with the same familiar softness, and her eyes danced with something I couldn't place, something too calm. Too calculated. I watched her walk out the door with a smile and a small suitcase. That was the last time I saw my wife. At first, I stood by the door for a while, holding the handle, my chest strangely hollow. I could hear the girls giggling in the living room, calling for snacks. Life moved on around me, but something inside me had paused, like my heart had caught a signal before my mind could interpret it. I should have known. God, I should have known. Before we begin today's unforgettable story, welcome to Whispers of Reality, where real-life inspired stories come to life with raw emotion, suspense, and powerful truths. From heartbreaking betrayals to jaw-dropping comebacks, shocking secrets to soul-stirring moments, every story on this channel is a whisper from reality itself. These aren't just stories, they're experiences you'll feel. If you believe in the power of storytelling and love content that moves, inspires, and keeps you coming back for more, make sure to hit that subscribe button, tap the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear the truth behind today's tale. Now, sit back, open your heart, and let the whispers begin. My name is Damien McCona, and I had no idea I was kissing the last piece of my old life goodbye that morning. I was just a man trying his best. A husband. A father. A struggling Uber driver doing long shifts in the madness of Johannesburg traffic, hustling to keep our small family afloat. We didn't have much, but we had love, at least, I believed we did. My wife, Lorato, was the organized one. The planner. She'd always been ambitious, and I admired that about her. But ambition without conscience? I didn't see that coming. The first day passed, then the second. On the third, I set out the girls' shoes for school and packed their lunch myself, proud I'd managed not to burn the eggs. The plan was simple, she'd return that evening. The girls kept asking when she'd walk through the door. She'll be back tonight, I told them. You'll see. Night came. She didn't. By day 4, I called her phone. Switched off. I figured maybe the training had gone late. I texted. No reply. Day 5, I tried again. Still nothing. That was when the chill in my spine settled into something darker. I tried to ignore the dread, to silence the voices in my head. I told myself, don't overthink. She's fine. She'll come back. But even my own voice sounded like a stranger's lie. By the 7th day, I went to her office in Sandton. She no longer works here, the receptionist said without blinking. She resigned about a month ago. I stared at her. That's not possible. She told me she had training here this week. The woman gave me that pitying look I would come to know too well over the next few months. Sir. I'm sorry. I walked out of that building with a mind full of static. I couldn't feel my feet as I crossed the parking lot. Something inside me had broken, something primal. I wanted to scream, to run, to cry, but I had to get back to my daughters. They were waiting for dinner. Waiting for her. I drove to her mother's house in Soweto the next day. Her sister answered the door and barely let me speak. She's not here. Her reaction made me realize immediately that they knew where she was. When is she coming back? A shrug, cold and dismissive. I need to talk to someone. Her father? Anyone? I asked. Nobody can help you, Damien, her sister said, shutting the door. And just like that, I became a man ghosted by his own wife. It wasn't until the third week that the truth came out, slipped from the lips of a sympathetic former colleague of hers named Lebo. She had come to check on the girls. I shouldn't be telling you this, she whispered, but you deserve to know. Lorato. She didn't go for training. She left the country. Her family helped her. It was all planned. The room spun. She what? They said you wouldn't let her leave with the children, so she left them behind. Just for now. I could barely hear her anymore. My ears were ringing. My wife, the mother of my children, planned an escape. Lied to my face. Left me with 3 little girls and didn't even have the decency to say goodbye properly. It wasn't just betrayal, it was surgical abandonment. A clean cut, no explanation. Just, gone. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at the dining table. 1 plate short. 3 pairs of eyes looked at me from the hallway, my girls. Emily, barely 9, spoke first. Daddy, when is Mama coming home? I swallowed the lump in my throat. I don't know, baby. But I promise you. I'm here. From that moment on, I became something more than a father. I became everything. The days that followed were not measured in hours or minutes, but in cries, silences, and impossible questions. Lorato's absence quickly turned into a ghost that filled every room of our small townhouse in Midrand. Her scent still lingered on the sheets. Her toothbrush remained in the cup. Her slippers sat neatly by the bed. But she was gone. Entirely and intentionally. I had no time to grieve. My daughters needed me, not just to be present but to be whole. And I wasn't. I was a broken man hiding behind a smile made for bedtime stories. Emily, my eldest, started waking up at night, her eyes swollen with tears, her tiny voice whispering, "Did I do something wrong? Is that why she left?" I didn't have answers. Only arms to hold her. Zola stopped eating her vegetables. Lethe began wetting the bed. The girls weren't just missing a mother, they were confused by the silence. The unfinished goodbye. The vanishing that made no sense in the only world they knew. I was still trying to survive the betrayal, but I had to learn to do more than drive a car and bring home money. I had to learn how to braid hair, do laundry without turning white clothes pink, and distinguish between lip gloss and lip balm because apparently, those were very different things. I googled everything. How to talk to girls about puberty. Easy school lunch recipes for picky eaters. Father raising daughters alone. I cried more times than I can count. But never in front of them. Uber driving became my escape, and my curse. Some days, I'd drive for 12 hours straight, my back aching and my spirit running on fumes, just to make enough to pay school fees and keep food on the table. I skipped meals so the girls could have second helpings. I said no to new shoes, new shirts, and outings for myself because their needs always came first. There were nights I parked my car at a quiet corner near the N1 highway, turned off the engine, and just stared at the sky. Wondering how someone could carry life inside them, feed it, nurse it, and then walk away like it meant nothing. I battled with bitterness, but love for my girls kept the rage from consuming me. One of the hardest days of my life came 2 years later. Emily was 11. I came back from a late shift to find her curled in the bathroom, crying, blood on the floor tiles, trembling like a leaf. "Daddy. I think I'm dying." My heart dropped. I rushed in, scooped her up, cleaned her, comforted her. Then it hit me, this was her first period. My mind was blank. I hadn't prepared for this. I had pads in the house, but only because a kind mother from school once gave me a starter pack. I didn't know what to say. But I knelt in front of her, held her face in my hands, and told her what I knew every young girl needed to hear: "You are not dying, my love. You are becoming a woman. And that's something beautiful. It's okay to be scared. But you're not alone. I've got you. Always." She broke down in my arms. So did I. Those were the moments that changed me. Not her leaving, but them staying. We created our own routines. Saturday pancakes. Sunday game nights. Birthday dances in the living room. I learned to sew buttons, tie ponytails, and talk about feelings. I learned to listen. To really listen. Because sometimes, love means putting aside your own pain long enough to carry someone else's. Every time one of them called me mommy daddy, it stung, but it also reminded me that I had managed the impossible. 10 years passed. Not without wounds. Not without nights when I cried in the shower, asking God if I was enough. But we made it. Emily is now 19, in university studying law. Zola is 16, a brilliant science student who dreams of becoming a surgeon. Lethe is 13, quiet and creative, already winning poetry awards. They are strong. They are kind. They are whole. And then, on a random Thursday morning, she returned. My wife, Lorato, returned. 10 years. No calls. No letters. No apologies. Just walked into my life again, expensive sunglasses, red lipstick, and a cold smile. "I want to talk about taking the girls," she said. And just like that, I knew. She wasn't back for closure. She came to take. But she had no idea the kind of man I had become. And certainly, no clue about the daughters she left behind. I should have known her return wasn't just a coincidence. 10 years of silence, and now, without warning, she strolls back into our lives like a long-lost queen ready to reclaim her throne. She stood there in my driveway, her arms folded across her designer coat, like she expected gratitude for gracing us with her presence. Her hair was sleeker, her accent clipped, her skin glowing with wealth and luxury. The woman who left in silence now spoke in confidence, like time had erased the betrayal. "I've been thinking," she said, her tone sugar-coated but sharp underneath. "I want to take the girls with me. To Europe. They deserve a better life. I can give them more now." I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have words, but because every part of me was screaming not to say what I was thinking. More. I thought. Where was more when they needed a mother at their school play? When Zola had asthma attacks? When Lethe cried in her sleep, asking if she was invisible to the woman who gave birth to her? I wanted to ask those questions, but I didn't. Instead, I said, "They're not parcels, Lorato. You don't just show up and collect them." The next morning, I sat my daughters down. They deserved to know the truth. Not the ugliness, but enough of it to understand what was coming. Amelie's face was unreadable. Zola was visibly upset. Lethe didn't say a word, just hugged me and buried her face into my chest. "I'm not going anywhere," she whispered. That night, I found a handwritten letter on my pillow. It was from Amelie. "Daddy, I know she's my mother. But I don't know her anymore. You've never let us go without love, food, protection, or laughter. You gave us your life. Now we give you ours. No matter what comes, we're staying with you." I cried like a child. Not from pain, but from a kind of victory that can't be bought. 2 weeks after her visit, the letter arrived. Official. Stamped. Wrapped in that cold, clean envelope that always smells like trouble. Inside was a formal notice: Lorato Makona versus Damien Makona, petition for partial custody and international relocation of minor children. She wasn't bluffing. She was coming for them, on paper, in court, with lawyers who had never spent a single night walking the floor with a child running a fever, or comforting a sobbing teenager afraid she was becoming a woman too soon. I sat in the living room, the letter in my hands, my chest tightening with fury and disbelief. It wasn't just what she was asking for. It was the audacity. Claiming to be a mother, I muttered under my breath, after a decade of silence. But I didn't tear the paper. I didn't storm to her new place in Rosebank, where I heard she now stayed in a luxury high-rise. No. I called my lawyer. He was calm, as usual. "She's playing power games," he said, scanning the document. "Her legal team is leaning on the biological mother angle. They'll argue that children need their mother's touch, and she's in a better financial position. But," he looked up at me, "they're forgetting something stronger than wealth. You've got 10 years of custody, love, sacrifice, school records, emotional bonds, and 3 girls who are not just your daughters, but your witnesses." I nodded. "Then we fight." But the days before the hearing were not easy. Zola began to act out. Missing assignments. Shouting at her sisters. I pulled her aside one night to talk to her. "I'm scared, Daddy," she said. "What if the judge says we have to go with her? What if they don't believe us?" I knelt beside her, pulled her into my arms. "Zola," I whispered, "there's something no court can erase, what we've built here. They'll see it. And even if they don't, I will fight until my last breath." And I meant every word. When the court day finally came, I wore the only suit I owned, neatly ironed, slightly faded, but clean. My daughters wore matching dresses, their hair braided neatly by Amelie the night before. Lorato arrived in a sleek black car, stepping out in heels that clicked like daggers on the tiled courthouse floor. Her face wore no guilt, only purpose. She didn't greet me. Didn't look at the girls. Just walked in with her lawyer, a sharp young man in a navy suit who clearly thought he'd won before it began. The courtroom was quiet. The judge, a gray-haired woman with tired eyes, called both of us to stand. "Ms. Makona," the judge said. "You are requesting custody of your 3 daughters after a decade of absence." "Yes, Your Honor," she answered confidently. "Circumstances forced me to leave. But now that I am stable and in a position to offer them a better future, I believe it's time to reunite. Do you have evidence of contact or support over these 10 years?" There was a pause. A dangerous pause. "No, Your Honor." But, the judge cut her off. "Thank you, Mr. Makona." I stood, every nerve in my body alive. Your Honor, I have school records, medical documents, letters from their teachers, neighbors, and proof of full custody by default. I also have statements from each of my daughters, written in their own words, explaining why they wish to remain under my care. The judge nodded. Noted. The hearing continued for hours. Lorado's lawyer tried to paint me as limited, overworked, underpaid, a man doing his best but unable to match what his ex-wife could now offer in terms of global opportunities. But they underestimated one thing. The girls. Each one, called to speak in private to the judge, told the same truth in different voices. Emily, he never left. He never gave up on us. Zola, she's a stranger. He's our home. Lethe, I don't want to go. I don't even know her. By the end of it, Lorado's confident smile had faded. She looked at them, not with love, but frustration. She wasn't moved. She was defeated. Because her plan had one fatal flaw. She thought they were still little girls waiting to be rescued. But they had grown. And they had already been saved. The judge didn't announce a verdict that day. She said she needed time to review all evidence and statements before giving a final ruling. 2 weeks. That's what she said. 2 weeks before the decision that would shape the rest of our lives. That night, back home, I served pap and stew, our usual comfort meal. We sat around the table, candles flickering during yet another load shedding. Zola raised her glass of juice. To Daddy, she said, grinning. For not letting anyone steal us. They laughed. And I couldn't help the tears that rolled down my face. Not because I was broken. But because I knew, we had already won. But the real battle wasn't waiting for court. It had already begun, in the whispers that followed us out of the courtroom, and the firestorm that was coming next. 3 days after the hearing, I received a call from a respected journalist with one of South Africa's biggest radio networks. She'd somehow gotten wind of the case and wanted to feature it anonymously in a series she was doing on Fathers Left Behind. I won't mention names unless you permit it, she said. But people need to hear this, Damien. Men like you are almost invisible. You deserve to be seen. I hesitated. The last thing I wanted was to turn our pain into public spectacle or to put my daughters out to the court of public opinion. But something in her voice, honest, unfiltered, made me pause. I'll think about it, I said. That night, I lay awake for hours. Not from fear. But from clarity. For 10 years, I had buried everything. I had lived in the shadows of someone else's shame. Raised children who never asked to be caught in emotional crossfire. I had loved quietly, endured privately, and never spoken my truth, because no one cared to listen. Maybe it was time they did. The next day, I called the journalist back. You can use my name, but do not involve my daughters. The story aired on a Thursday morning, accompanied by a short clip of my voice and a still image of me. I spoke about what happened in simple words. No anger. Just truth. How I was told she was going for training. How she never came back. How I raised 3 daughters alone. How she returned a decade later to reclaim what she had abandoned. I didn't demonize her. I didn't need to. The facts did it for me. By midday, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages. Missed calls. Emails. Strangers from all corners of South Africa sent words of encouragement, support, and shared their own stories, men and women. Abandoned fathers. Broken sons. Single mothers who had been left with nothing. People who had carried shame for years that wasn't even theirs. The journalist called again that evening. "Your story is bigger than you think. We're getting hundreds of messages. You've started something, Damien." I wasn't trying to start anything. But maybe it was time someone did. The fallout was immediate. Online debates exploded. Radio shows. TV panels. Hashtags like #FathersMatter and #LeftBehindButStanding started trending. And with it, came a wave of unexpected momentum. A local NGO that supports single fathers reached out with a scholarship fund for my girls. A women-led legal firm offered to assist, free of charge, just to keep Lorado from exploiting legal loopholes. I began to realize this fight was never just mine. The girls noticed the shift too. People at school started whispering, but not with pity. With pride. Zola came home one day and said, "They called me the brave girl with the brave dad." I smiled. "Are you okay with that?" I asked. She nodded. "It's better than being the daughter of someone who left." Emily didn't say much, but I caught her reading articles about family law, scribbling notes in a journal. "You planning to be a lawyer now?" I teased one night. She smiled. "No. I'm planning to make sure no girl goes through what we went through." Lorado went silent after that. Her calls stopped. Her lawyer requested a private meeting to settle out of court. I refused. She wanted to negotiate quietly now because her name was no longer praised. Because the world no longer saw her as the woman who built a better life abroad, but as the one who walked away and expected applause when she returned. No. The world would watch her answer for it. Revenge, they say, is best served cold. But what they don't tell you is that the coldest revenge doesn't need blood or war. It needs only clarity, truth, and time. I never set out to destroy Lorado. I only wanted peace for my daughters. But peace, sometimes, comes at the cost of revealing what people fight hardest to bury. 3 days before the final court date, her lawyer called again. He sounded different this time, less arrogant, more cautious. "Mr. McCona," he began, "my client would like to propose joint custody with visitation arrangements. No relocation." I laughed softly into the phone. "She wants to bargain now. We believe this will prevent further media attention." That was it. She wasn't thinking about the girls. She was thinking about her reputation. The day before the hearing, I did something unexpected. I met with a journalist again, this time off record. I gave her permission to publish everything, screenshots, records, documents, and timestamps, but I told her to hold the article until the verdict was announced. Not for drama. For justice. On the day of the final hearing, the courtroom was quiet, but the air crackled with tension. Lorado wore black again, her posture stiff, her lips tight. Her lawyer avoided my eyes. Mine didn't. When the judge entered and read the ruling, I didn't breathe. Full, permanent custody awarded to Mr. Damien McCona. All relocation rights denied. No visitation privileges granted until reviewed after a 2-year observation period. Ms. Lorado McCona is ordered to pay backdated child support and submit to counseling before any further custody application. Lorado didn't cry. She didn't speak. She simply stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked out of the courtroom. But the damage wasn't over. That afternoon, the article went live. Mother vanishes for 10 years, returns to reclaim children she abandoned weeks past. Lorado sent a message. Just one. You won. I hope you're proud of yourself. I didn't reply. Because it wasn't about pride. It was about protection. And you don't protect what you hate, you protect what you love. One evening, Zola asked me, "Do you think she ever loved us?" I thought for a moment. Then I said, "I think she loved what having you made her feel." But love is shown in presence, not promises. And real love never disappears without explanation. They all nodded. Quietly. Thoughtfully. We didn't talk about her much after that. Not because we erased her. But because we had outgrown the wound. And that brings us to the end of today's story. What are your thoughts? What would you have done in that situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we read every single one. Your perspective matters, and we love hearing how these stories connect with you. If this story moved you, inspired you, or even shocked you, don't forget to like the video, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss another true life tale from Whispers of Reality. We have more powerful stories coming your way, real stories that deserve to be heard. Until next time, keep listening to the whispers.